Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be on these DIY all the time hot cocoa bombs. And we're actually going to be making 4 different delicious flavors. Let's begin! You first want to start by melting your chocolate, and for that we are going to be using the double boiler method, which is in this large pot here. I have about 2 to 3 inches of water that I brought to a quick boil. Then you want to place a large bowl over the pot, and the steam that's coming from that water will then melt the compound chocolate. And for my compound chocolate, I am just using Meltable's regular chocolate. Now the great thing about using the double boiler method is that it'll keep your chocolate melted for a longer period of time, so you don't have to work as fast when you are filling your silicone molds, opposed to using the microwave method in 30-second increments, where you'll have to keep reinserting your chocolate into the microwave and it'll just start hardening a lot faster, so you will have to then work faster to fill your molds. So I used about a cup's worth of the Meltable's chocolate, and then I just take a rubber spatula and just start stirring the chocolate chips around until everything is completely well combined and smooth and melted. Now that the chocolate is completely melted, it is time to fill in our molds. So I purchased these silicone molds off of Amazon. They're about 2.5 inches in diameter, and they were fairly inexpensive and pretty good quality. So I would just recommend trying out Amazon or your local craft store. Now to fill your half sphere, I am just using 1 spoonful of the chocolate, then using the back of the spoon to then maneuver the chocolate all over the half sphere, just making sure that I am covering as much as I can within this step. And then you do want to focus on the edges of the mold itself as well, just because you want them to be thick and pretty sturdy so that when it comes time to pop out your mold, they don't break as easily. Now if you accidentally manage to miss covering one spot of the mold in this step here, don't worry. The following step, we're just going to swirl the chocolate around the entire half sphere to then ensure that we do fill every single inch of the mold to ensure that we have uniform, full, and complete half spheres. Now that you have completed the initial step of filling each half sphere, we are then going to start to swirl the chocolate within the mold. So this is just to ensure that every inch of the mold has been covered with chocolate. As you can see, I did miss some areas of my mold. So in order to maneuver the chocolate and swirl it around the mold, you'll just basically let gravity do its job and start maneuvering the chocolate into a complete 360. Now if the chocolate begins to seep out of your silicone mold, do not worry about that. We will clean up the edges before letting the chocolate harden. And you also want to take a note that you don't want your chocolate molds to be too thick, just because it'll be a lot harder for your chocolate bombs to then melt with the hot milk that you do add it to. An additional step that I do before actually cleaning the edges off of the silicone mold is actually flipping the mold onto some parchment paper. This just allows all the excess chocolate to seep to the bottom of the paper itself, and within this step it actually thickens the edges of my silicone mold, so that way they won't break so easily when it comes time to pop them out of the mold. Now before allowing the compound chocolate to harden, you'll just want to take a rubber spatula and clean up the edges, just because it'll make it a lot easier going forward when it's time to actually put your chocolate bombs together. Next, you want to let the chocolate harden. You can go about this two separate ways. You can just set your silicone mold off to the side for about 10 to 15 minutes and allow the chocolate to harden that way, or you can place it in the refrigerator for about 5 to 10 minutes as well, depending on whichever method you want to go with. So now it is time to remove your molds from the silicone. For this step, you want to work both slowly and diligently, and I would recommend focusing on the edges of your hot cocoa bomb first. What I found extremely helpful was using my thumbs to kind of tug at the edges very lightly so that it would unmold the edges first. And the fingers you have placed at the bottom of the mold, use it to pop it out of the silicone mold, and there you have it. Then you want to place it in a cupcake liner to hold it in place, just because you don't want it rolling around or you don't want to flip it over and risk damaging the edges of your hot cocoa bomb. And as you can see, there were a few instances where the chocolate did break around the edges, and if that does happen to your mold, there is no need to worry, just because the following step, we are going to focus on cleaning up those edges. To clean up the edges of your hot cocoa bomb, you want to heat up a flat pan or anything with a flat top to then flip your hot cocoa bomb onto the flat surface to then create the clean cut edges that you need to then bring your hot cocoa bomb together. And as you can see here, the rugged edges of the hot cocoa bomb become smooth just by placing it in the pan just for a couple seconds and giving it a few spins, and it is ready to go. And now we're going to put our first hot cocoa bomb together. We are going to start with an Abuelita flavored hot cocoa bomb. So I am just adding 1 tablespoon of the Abuelita powder to the inside of my hot cocoa bomb. And then I'm going to add a handful of mini marshmallows too, and then seal the hot cocoa bomb together. Before sealing my hot cocoa bomb, I did change its aligner to a silver one just to be sure that I am keeping track of the flavors of each one when it comes time to decorating them. And just like we did when it came time to clean up the edges of our hot cocoa bomb, you just want to heat up a flat pan once again and use your hot chocolate to then seal it together. So what you're basically doing with this step is melting the rim of the chocolate, which will then act as an adhesive to seal the chocolate together. Then you gently want to press the hot chocolate halves together to ensure that they are very well stuck together. And that is your first hot chocolate bomb. Now we are moving on to our second hot chocolate bomb flavor, which is the classic hot chocolate. So here I am just using some Swiss Miss hot chocolate powder, again just 1 tablespoon, and a handful of mini marshmallows. I already did the step of cleaning up the rim of both halves of my chocolate molds. And then here we are just going to do the same step of just melting the chocolate of 1/2 to seal the hot cocoa bomb together. And then I almost dropped it there. You didn't see that. The last step before decorating our hot cocoa bomb is ensuring that the edges of the hot cocoa bomb are seamless. Now, if you have piping bags, go ahead and use those. I just grabbed a Ziploc bag just because it seemed like something a lot more people would have in their pantry. So all I did was add the melted chocolate from the bowl and poured it into this Ziploc bag and just cut a little piece of the tip of the Ziploc bag just to ensure that I wasn't going to have a ton of the chocolate seeping out of it. Now, as you can see, I did have a slight little gap in between the molds or my hot cocoa bomb. So you just want to add a little bit of your chocolate to seal it and then run your finger to smooth it out. Now, these are just for myself, so I didn't use gloves, but if you're going to sell these or gift them, please use a glove for that step. And next is decorating, and I am using the same Ziploc bag, and all you want to do now is decorate it however which way possible. I'm just using the chocolate to just kind of make some very intricate, simple design. And this being the silver cupcake lining, I know it's the Abuelita Hot Cocoa Bomb, so I am just covering it and coating it with Abuelita powder. And this one being the white cupcake liner, I know it is the original hot cocoa chocolate. I then coat this one with a little bit of hot chocolate powder just so I am able to tell the difference between both flavors. And there you have your first 2 hot cocoa bombs in both Abuelita and Original Hot Cocoa. Alright, let's move on to the next 2 flavors. Now for these next 2 flavors, I am going to speed up the process just because it's pretty much the same exact steps, just using white chocolate this time. I am using the same Meltables brand in the white chocolates this time, of course, and I am again using the double boiler method just because it allows me plenty of time to work with the chocolate. Then add 1 spoonful of the white chocolate into each of the molds, using the back of the spoon to use as a way to maneuver the chocolate to fill every nook and cranny of each half sphere. After filling each mold, you want to follow with the swirling method once again, just letting gravity do its thing and swirl the chocolate in a 360 motion, ensuring that you fill all of the edges and the entire mold. Don't forget to flip your silicone mold over onto some parchment paper just to remove all of the excess chocolate, just because you don't want your bombs to be so thick. And this step also thickens the edges of your half spheres as well. Then you want to clean up those edges and place it in the refrigerator for about 5 to 10 minutes, or set it out for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you want to pop each one out onto a cupcake liner. Again, you want to make this step very slowly and diligently, ensuring you don't break or crack any of the edges. Then use a hot flat surface to clean up both edges of your molds. And now for the third flavor, a delicious peppermint hot cocoa bomb. So this one here is my favorite. You just want to add some candy canes, crush them in a Ziploc bag, and then we are using some vanilla powder that I got from the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, along with some mini marshmallows, of course. So here I am just showing you what the canister looked like that I purchased. Again, that was from Coffee Bean, and it is a vanilla powder. I am using 1 tablespoon of that powder, and I am also going to use 1 teaspoon and like a half or so of the crushed peppermint. Then I am adding an additional handful of my mini marshmallows, of course, and then you just want to seal it again with your flat hot pan, just to use as an adhesive to glue your hot cocoa bomb together. And don't forget to press gently on your hot cocoa bomb just to ensure that you seal the chocolate together. And now for the last and final flavor, we will be making a strawberry and cream hot cocoa bomb. So I will be using the same vanilla powder that I used for the peppermint bomb, and now we are going to be using some strawberry Nesquik powder. So because I am keeping with the tablespoon measurement, I am only using a 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla powder and a 1.5 teaspoons of the strawberry Nesquik, along with another handful of mini marshmallows. And lastly, you just want to seal your hot cocoa bomb together. And lastly comes the sealing of the hot cocoa bomb and the decorating. Both of these actually came out perfect. There was no crease in between any of these spheres when putting them together, so I went directly into decorating both of them. So for the first one, I just sprinkled it with the strawberry powder because it is the strawberry and cream cocoa bomb, and then the second one I just sprinkled it with some crushed peppermint so that whenever I am ready to use them, I know which flavors that they are. And just like that, you have 4 flavors. Now let's put one to the test. Now to enjoy your hot cocoa bomb, place it inside a mug and boil 1 cup of milk. You then pour your boiling hot milk on top of the hot cocoa bomb and you watch it explode. And just like that, you get to enjoy your 4 delicious hot cocoa bomb flavors. Well, thanks for watching everyone, and please subscribe.